Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to January 2023. We're going to be budgeting out our very first paycheck for the new year. I hope everyone had a good 2022 and I hope 2023 is even better. So we're going to jump on my Excel sheet. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Jackie. I do what's called a zero-based budget or a every dollar budget. And if you missed it, I already shared my plan for the entire year. I do have my Excel template. It's for sale on Etsy if you're interested, but I do have a yearly tab, so that's what I did, and I shared that with you guys already. So then on a monthly basis, that yearly tab number auto-populates onto my monthly budget, and then I actually budget out every single paycheck to come up with the total for the month to kind of get a better idea of how the cash flow is going to go. So we get paid every single Friday, so I do a budget every single Friday. We also have what's called an irregular income, so it's even more important for us to kind of budget every single week because every single week is different. For us, it's based on hours worked. So we might have, my husband might have overtime, he might have no overtime. Myself, I work at Amazon, I work part-time at a sort center, but we work what's called a flex schedule. So depending on the volume, we are scheduled for 4 hours, but we can flex up to 5 hours or we can flex down to 3 hours. So just again, it depends on how it's going. And so that's why our income is irregular. But you also might be in sales or something where you deal with commission or, you know, something like that. So maybe your income might be irregular as well. So this is just a good way to help plan for that. When we're planning ahead, I always try to budget more on the less side of what we are seeing, and that way if we get the extra overtime or we're working the 5 hours instead of the 4 hours, then I can adjust it on a weekly basis and we're not planning for that money. But we also don't want to budget, we don't budget the least amount. We kind of budget what we've averaged over the last couple of months, kind of idea there. So for January we have 4 paychecks. So again, on Friday, so we have the 6th, the 13th, the 20th, and the 27th. I like to color code my stuff. So when I first do my budget, everything is in red, meaning that's what I'm projecting, that's what I'm planning. Once it's a number that's being kind of worked, you can see here I have some orange going on. And then once that money is the official, for the income, if that's the official amount that we got before taxes, then I put in, I make it black. And then you'll see the number, the colors that change on the bottom here in a minute. So my husband's base pay is $32 an hour for 40 hours a week. So you can see I budgeted that for each paycheck. That's what his paycheck for the 6th was. And then the overtime, the company he's with basically said they're not gonna have overtime for a while. And you're gonna see this big lump sum right here. So my husband's actually, this is his last week with this company. He's going back to the other company. I'm not going to go into all the details, but the good thing is that he'll be keeping the same pay. So that's actually like quite a bit of a raise from what he was making with that company when he had left. So basically for the 6th, they had 48 hours. They did have the holiday. This is for Christmas holiday. And that is actually not paid at the overtime rate. It's paid at the $32, but I still lined it up with overtime because it was 8 hours over his 40 hours, so it's 256. Normally his overtime is time and a half, which would be $48. And then next week we're looking at the same thing because of the New Year holiday. For the 20th, he'll be cashing out all of his PTO with this company, which was over 50 hours of PTO. So for myself, for Amazon, for the 6th, I made $158.57. So I make $15.50 an hour. Like I mentioned, my time is basically scheduled for 4 hours, but we can do 3 hours, we could do 3.5 hours, we could do 4, 4.5, 5 hours. We kind of have like that window. This was also holiday time where we had the day off, but we were not paid because I am part-time. Now, if we worked on the holiday, I would have been paid time and a half, but basically I didn't work on that time, so I had less hours. Same thing with the 13th, be a little bit less hours. And then on the 20th and 27th, I had planned for the 4 hours. So our cash back on our Discover card, we get that on the 6th of every month. So what I do is anytime we're getting some type of income, I do my best to line it up with that Friday. So if it's coming a little bit before that Friday, I just line it up with the Friday. And then if, say, we were getting it on the 7th or 8th, I would line it up with the 13th. So that's kind of how I budget. So the budget's every Friday, but sometimes you might get some income, before that time. You just budget on that. Same thing before, when I was working at the school, I was getting paid like every other Thursday or something like that, and I just lined it up with this time frame. Okay, so we got $35.91 for our cash back. We made $1,730 before taxes. And then we have divided our budget up to 5 categories, if you missed it before. The largest portion of our budget is our monthly committed expenses. Then we have our retirement, our long-term savings or debt payoff, our short-term savings or irregular spending, and then our fun. And what we're trying to do is for retirement, short-term, and fun, we're trying to make those the same. So we're doing 7% of our income for this year, for 2023, and we're going to try our best we're going to stick to that 7% of our income for those 3 categories. The other 2 categories, the long-term savings, debt payoff, and the committed monthly expenses, kind of change because our committed monthly expenses most of it are fixed expenses. Some change a little bit, but our income changes. So that percent goes up and down depending on our income for that particular week or month. And then whatever's left, we're doing into the long-term savings or debt payoff, which for the year, we're looking at about 17% for the year, but again, that's going to fluctuate each month. And then the average for our monthly expenses is about 62%, but again, that might fluctuate month to month. Now, we got those numbers based off of a budgeting method called the 60% solution. So the idea is your committed monthly expenses, including your taxes and health insurance and all of that deductions from your paycheck, are part of 60%, and then you would normally divide up the other 4 evenly at 10%, but we're doing it a little bit different, but we're gonna get up to those hopefully. So 7%, I know it's a bit of a ramble, but anyway, 7% for our retirement. We currently have 5% of my husband's income. This includes his regular pay and his overtime, so 5% of that goes into his 401k. So $76.80 went into his 401k. I made this blue because at a glance, I know that the money isn't like spent and gone. It's actually saved or invested for our future. And then whatever is left to make up that 7% is going into my Roth IRA. So for my monthly budget on the yearly budget tab, that would be $212 for the month. So I just set up an automatic thing with Vanguard, which I have a Roth IRA with Vanguard. I just set it up where $50 every Monday gets transferred into that account. And I just did that just for the month, the first 3 weeks of January. And because this amount here is actually still going to be contributed to my 2022 contribution limit. For February, I'll probably set up a new auto payment and I'll decide how much I want to do. So that I can play around with of how much. But the idea, we want to do like $50 to $75 a week into my Roth IRA would be the goal. So this again is blue because that money automatically transferred yesterday. The debt payoff, we're not putting anything from this paycheck yet, just because we want to see how the PTO reimbursement and taxes end up happening. So our committed monthly expenses, again, we're talking for the year, our average for the year is going to be about 62%, the plan. But so far for this month, we're looking at 61%. So we'll have to see, again, taxes fluctuate. So I budgeted originally what taxes I thought were going to come out, and the taxes for this week were actually a little bit lower than I had anticipated. So we have a little bit extra money that can go towards debt payoff, but also we're going to have that 20th where we're going to have that PTO payment coming out. So probably the taxes are going to be like way higher. So we'll have to see. Also, like I mentioned, since Ricky is going to the other employer, he will have to wait 1 month to get all of the benefits, the 401k, the health insurance, and all of that. So you can see here the last week doesn't have that included because we won't have that. I've already have my appointment scheduled with my doctor, so I'll have my prescription and everything renewed and refilled to get me through that month without insurance, and then we'll go back. The other thing is the insurance with this employer that he's leaving, it did go up. It was $87.66 a week. Now it is $117.64. The new company / old company, his old employer that he's going back to, they are the 87, they're about 87 something. So we will basically be going back to that. But our life insurance was $5.72 for that. So these are black because that money comes out of my husband's paycheck automatically. That money is gone. We're not going to see that money. And then again, you see these are orange because these are now numbers that we're working on the budget. The next part of my committed monthly expenses are all of the expenses related to the household, whether they're a necessity or not. These are expenses we are committed to paying. So our first one is our mortgage. And so out of this paycheck, we're not putting anything towards that. This will be for the mortgage payment that's due on February 1st. Our groceries, we're budgeting $120 a week. And I actually, I already did our grocery shopping and I only spent $91. So the extra like $28 or something I put into our short-term savings. So on the side of my template here, I have the lines that you can keep track of different accounts. So I keep track of the credit card, what we're spending it on, and then our short-term savings, long-term savings, things like that. So you can see here, I put that 28, 29 in there. So I'm going to keep it in line with the food. And then what I'm going to do is that money will be in there specifically for groceries. So let's say I want to stock up on some food later. I have that added money. At the end of the year, if I have money in there and it did not end up going towards food, then I can put it into the long-term savings or I can put it towards debt, whatever it is I decide to do. So I was excited that I stayed below budget for this week. The other bill out of this paycheck was our Netflix. So this is due on the 26th of January. So this is $16.93. It's blue because I went ahead and put it in my short-term savings account because I have the money on the 6th. I have the money in the bank, but it's not due till the 26th. This comes out automatically out of my checking account, but our interest on our savings account is pretty high right now. So I want to earn as much money in that bank account or the savings account as I can. So I have it in savings until usually the week before that paycheck, before it's due. Then I'll move it over to the checking account. Do you have to do that? No. It's a lot of work if you're not, and it can mess you up big time if you're not paying attention to what you're doing, especially if you have bills coming out of one account automatically. If you don't got the money in there in time, then you're going to be in trouble. But I've been working this system for quite a while, and I like doing it that way. So every Friday I'm on there, I'm double checking the budget, I'm moving money around if I need to. So that's in savings. You can see here I put the due dates, so I have a better idea of, okay, what paycheck do I need to make sure I have the money out. I try to have the money as early as I can, but obviously like the mortgage here, I'm only going to have it like a week and a half maybe before it's due. So the next category is anything dealing with our vehicle. So out of this paycheck, we're budgeting $100 for gas. So we used to do $90, but now that my daughters go to a new school, I do have to drive them a little bit further, and then I'm back working at Amazon, so I drive a little bit more as well. So we increased this to $100 a week. So we'll just see how this month goes. Also, when Ricky's at the other job site, he will actually be able to start riding his motorcycle again, because the job site he's at right now, it's all dirt and they wet it down every day. So it's basically, he's driving through mud. His truck is like covered in mud, and so he hasn't been able to ride the motorcycle. So he likes riding the motorcycle because it definitely saves on gas, and it's fun to ride the motorcycle. So we'll have to see what ends up happening with the gas. But for now, we're doing $100 a week. Like I said as well, if we don't spend the $100, I'll move what we're not spending into the short-term savings, and this could be used towards gas if we're driving a little bit farther for camping, or even if we need maybe extra money towards vehicle maintenance or something. The next amount of money we put into our short-term savings for is our truck. The truck payment is due on the 21st of January, so we're no longer a month ahead. We were like a month ahead on that, but it's due on the 21st, or we were like a few weeks. But anyway, so we have the money in savings. That's $591.97. So again, you can see here, like on the 20th, you know, I would end up transferring this over, or even maybe on the 13th I'll transfer this over to the checking account. The other thing we are bringing back this year is our chore money for our daughter. So I have a list of chores that they can do that are worth different dollar amounts, and they can earn up to their age on a weekly basis. Whatever they earn, half of it is in their savings, and then half of it they can spend. So they need to save a little bit more for something, but the savings is supposed to be for their long-term savings. And so we brought that back. So I have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old, and if they don't do any of those chores, well, then they don't earn that money. But what I'm going to do is, normally in the past I would end up putting that money towards something else, but instead I'm going to put it in my long-term savings for them, so we can start helping to save up for their first car or something like that. So as of the week so far, my youngest daughter has already earned $7 doing some chores. My older daughter hasn't done any yet, but the week's not over yet, so we'll see what they end up doing. So our next category, like I mentioned, we're trying to do 7%. Now we're not doing 7% each paycheck, we're just trying to do it for the month. So we budgeted $280 for our personal care. Whatever was left for the 7% we put into the household like project type fund. So out of this particular paycheck, we had $177.66, and then the personal care we had $188.04. You notice these are orange, so the money hasn't quite been spent yet. So for the $280, 158 of that is for my husband and I chiropractor. So we each pay $79 a month. We have like the wellness program through the Joint Chiropractor, so you don't need insurance or anything to go see them, and most of them are open later in the evening. A lot of them are open on weekends, but it's $79 a month, and you get 4 visits, so basically like $20 a visit, and then anything over that 4, you'd only pay $10. So far we're just going once a week, so it seems to be good. I did have a viewer mention on my yearly video about looking into, you know, having your health insurance pay for the chiropractor. For us, chiropractor work, specialty work, we have a $30 per visit copay, and then there's a limit of how many times you can go for the year. So for us using the Joint Chiropractor, it's actually cheaper not even to get the insurance involved. But definitely, if you're someone who you feel you need chiropractor work, take a look and see if your insurance chips in, or maybe you might have a Joint Chiropractor. They are franchises that are owned by multiple chiropractors. They might have it in your state if you're feeling you need a decent chiropractor at a decent price. So 158 of that is for those chiropractors, and then the rest of it is towards personal care. So specifically for this month, I owe my daughter's dentist like $106 because the insurance didn't cover part of her last visit. And then I owe my doctor $15 because my insurance didn't cover some of the blood work I had done during my last visit. So that's what the 280 is, basically the 2 chiropractors and then paying balances that we owe, but then that will be taken care of. For the household project, we were trying to finish my daughter's bedroom. So we ended up getting them new bedding. We got rid of their old big bulky desk. We got them 2 smaller desks because they do share a room. We transferred their old bookcase and replaced it with 2 other bookcases. We got like a desk cover for the desks. We got desk chairs, we got a bulletin board. So we've been, you know, each week trying to finish this project for them. So most of this is already spent. I think I have maybe $17 in savings, and then this other amount again is what's extra for the 7%. So I don't know what we're going to do with it yet. We're probably going to keep saving it. We still have maybe one more thing we want to do in the girls' room, because we kind of want to make those divider curtains because they have bunk beds. So we're thinking about trying to do some type of curtain for each bunk. So that would probably be the last thing we do in their room, and then we can move on to a different areas. I have so many unfinished projects at my house that it's like insane. So I'm trying to be a little more focused about, okay, we're in this area, let's finish this area. But anyways, so that's a lot of that. That's kind of what the expenses are going to be, but this is what we use out of this particular paycheck. 7% for the month, not necessarily every single paycheck. So we're trying to reel in the eating out. We don't do restaurants very often, but when we do go to restaurants, we end up spending quite a bit. So this eating out is for fast food and trying to kind of stick to like the dollar menu. So this first week I budgeted $30, and we actually only ended up spending $16.02. So I still have like almost $14 left, and the week's not over yet, so we could probably do another little dollar menu thing. Or again, I can roll it. I can put it in savings, and then we can use it. Maybe we save up a little bit, and then we can do a restaurant later on. We'll see how that goes. The events that I have here that the money is gone. My daughter has a science fair project, and so I bought like the science kit thing that we need to do. So I put it under events, so it's kind of like fun, even though it's for school. I wasn't really sure what to categorize it as, so I already paid for that. We're not planning any events for the rest of the month. Hopefully nothing else comes up. For drinks for the house, I mentioned this before, I'm not really drinking too much more. So we used to do $25 a week. I lowered it to $20, and actually we only ended up spending $16 because I basically just got Ricky a 12-pack of beer, and then the extra $4 that we didn't charge on the card went into the savings account. So I'm very proud of myself this week. I actually ended up staying between the groceries and the drinks, and I think eating out, I ended up saving us like $50 this week. So I was really proud of us for that. And then Ricky's NOS, his energy drinks, are $12 a week. So that is what we spent. So now we just have to pay that off on the credit card. So like I said, I keep track of what we spent on the credit card. So you can see here, my chiropractor payment has already been charged on the card. Ricky's is charged, I think, next week. So I have the money to pay for that. So we have the money to pay for that. So every Friday, I log on the credit card and I pay off what we owe. The rest of the 7%, basically, we're gonna be putting almost $300 into our vacation savings. The only vacation we have planned so far this year is we rented a cabin up in Sedona, and we're flying my mom out from Michigan. So my mom will be here for a week in May, and so this money we're starting to save up for that. So we put the deposit down on the cabin, but we still need to pay for the remainder balance. I already bought my mom's flight ticket, but then we need the extra food and gas and any activities we want to do. So we want to start saving up for that for when she comes. We do want to plan one other trip in October, because it will be our 10-year wedding anniversary and 14 years that we've been together, which is really crazy. So I was like, it's gonna be 10 years being married, like let's try to do something nice. So we all plan maybe a small little trip there, and then we usually do a few camping trips. So we'll see what ends up happening. But anyway, so that's for the week, and then obviously you can see kind of what the plan is for the rest of the month. But yeah, so that's the first paycheck of January 2023. I cannot believe it. So you kind of got a glimpse at what next week's gonna look like. So then I'll see you next week, and we'll see if I can keep the grocery budget at $120. I don't think I'll be able to do $90 again, and part of that was because I was definitely using some of the stuff we had on hand. So we had stockpiled quite a bit. We've kind of been using that up the last couple months. If you don't have your yearly budget together already, definitely get that going. Get your month of January going, and I really encourage you to budget out every single paycheck so you know how the cash is going to flow before you just start spending it and you wonder where your money went. But as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.